Alright, what is going on everybody? It is your boy Bounty here, bringing you a Chameleon guide. Now, I did make an advanced Nitara guide where I went over a lot of different cameos. I went over Serena, I went over Tremor, I went over Kung Lao, I went over a lot of people. But one person that was not out yet when I did make the advanced Nitara guide was Chameleon right here. And obviously through a lot of exploring and a lot of stuff that a lot of people have found, obviously this cameo is pretty much insane, and she, in my opinion, is the best cameo that you should use for Nitara. If you want to win and you want to be able to do all this crazy stuff, I genuinely believe that Chameleon is the cameo you should use if you want to use Nitara and be really good with her. But unfortunately, as I said, because I made the Nitara guide just a little bit too early before she was released, she did not make it into the video, so that's why I'm making this one. So this is more so of a follow-up to the advanced guide. I'm not necessarily going to be showing basic B&Bs with Nitara like you're seeing right here, just because I did go over a lot of that stuff in the advanced guide. So if you want to learn Nitara, I would just leave the link to that video in the description. But if you're already comfortable with the character and you just want to see what is possible with Chameleon, then that's what this video is here for. So before we get into anything, let me just show you all real quick on how to do it. So if you go into your practice settings and you scroll all the way down, you can actually choose which disguise you want to start the match with. So this is how you can practice it and just be really efficient with using whichever cameo you want to use in that moment, instead of just waiting for the switch to happen and all that stuff. So the way I'm going to be doing this is starting with Mileena first, then Jade, and then ending it off with Kitana. So let's just get right into the Mileena. So with Mileena, you're going to be getting a lot of stuff. Let me just show you what moves Chameleon has. So if you do back in cameo, you sort of get this little shield above you, which does make you get reduced damage on hit and on block. And what it also does is that it switches your cameo. So if you look at the top left, I had Kitana, and now I have Mileena, and if I go again, then I have Jade, and then the cycle just repeats until you keep doing it. Now I'm in practice mode, so obviously I have infinite meter just so I can show you guys, but there is a cooldown to this. It's not like you could just spam this in a match. I just have all the settings set to infinite just to make it easier for you all. So like I said, we're going to be starting with Mileena. Now, if you just press the cameo button normally, you're going to get this overhead ball roll. Now, obviously, if you've seen anybody use this cameo, this is essentially your bread and butter with Nitara, just because the amount of options this gives you for combo opportunities and also mix-ups is really good. Also, you have the forward cameo button, which for all cameos, regardless if it's Mileena, Jade, or Kitana, whether you use the ambush version or if you use the summon, the ambush version of the cameo will always recharge faster compared to the summon. So ambush is obviously this cameo right here. So you see the Mileena air size are still coming out while I'm jumping around, versus during the ball roll, no matter how hard I match my inputs, I'm not going to be able to move. So that's how you can tell the difference between an ambush and a summon. Ambush, you can move around while they do stuff. Summon, you're just kind of like stuck into this stance. So just keep that in mind. Also, another good thing about this Mileena ball roll is if I set the playback recording for Johnny Cage, and if I do a sweep into my knee, so this is your wake up. As you can see, alright, I had to slow it down right there just so that you can see it better, is that the knee went completely through my body because this is invincible. Now, it's not the best wake up in the world, you can stuff this, but to say that this is a bad option to throw out is just 100% a lie. I will definitely do this in my matches sometimes just to catch people off guard, because a lot of people are not expecting it. Because most people with Nitara's wake up, they're really expecting the EX blood spit, which isn't really a good wake up in my opinion with this character. She does have one, but to say it's really reliable and good is just not being honest with the character. So I would much rather prefer, if you're in the Mileena stance with Chameleon, to just maybe throw the ball roll a couple of times. Don't just mash it every single time on wake up, because they are going to get the read on it and you will be punished. Because if this move is blocked, the overhead ball roll, it is very punishable on block and they're going to absolutely destroy you for it. So what's really good about this overhead ball roll is you can mix it with her sweep, which is this. Now, if you've seen my advanced Nitara guide, the first hit of her sweep can be special canceled, and you can do a combo afterwards, whether it's on hit or on block. So if you see that they block this, you're safe with the down back 2. If you see that it connects, you commit with the EX dive kick, and then you get your combo. So what's scary about this is that this is 13 frames and the overhead ball roll is 18 frames. So there is a 5-frame difference. But because you can just mix them up like this, or you can even delay your timings, this is a true unreactable 50-50 that they have to guess. And also the amount of damage that you get for hitting this is absolutely ridiculous. This isn't even optimal, and you're still getting around 320 damage off this Johnny player right here in the practice mode. So you can definitely get a lot of damage. Let me just show you what you can do in the corner. So in the corner, if this hits, you can actually do the 242 loops in the corner. Sorry about that. So you can actually do the loops in the corner, as you see me do right there, or you can even go for a potential setup like this. So if you use a bar to get the EX back forward 2, you just knock them down, maybe go to an EX blood sacrifice, or you do your meaty forward 1-2, and now they just have to hold all this pressure afterwards, which is very, very scary for your opponent. Also, another good thing that I have to mention with where is it? Let me set him back to center, is because with air dashes, with Nitara's air dash specifically, if you use one in a combo, to use another air dash, you have to spend a bar of meter. I don't know if you see me glowing when I'm trying to do these air dashes with Nitara, but I'm pretty much wasting meter when I'm doing that move. So a good thing you can do with this is you can call the Mileena air size to get a further continuation in your air combos without having to waste a bar. So this is really good for you. So instead of ending it like this and just wasting only one bar for very little damage, you can just do 1-2-4, call in your Mileena air size, and then get a lot of corner carry and even more additional damage to your combos in continuation with that. And because this is an ambush, like I said, it's going to recover faster. So by the time you get the knockdown, let me just show that off really quick. Oh, I'm sorry, I messed it up. So by the time you get this knockdown, let me show that off. Bam, bam, bam. Get the air size. 1-2-4. By the time you get this knockdown, you'll be able to have 1 cameo worth to use your overhead Mileena ball roll, which is really, really good for you. So Mileena is not really super complicated in that fact. There are optimal combos that you can do like this. It is kind of hard to hit mid-screen. Let me just show that off. So you can go for it. It's kind of similar like if you do Nitara's 1-2-1-2 that I showed off in my advanced Nitara guide. So you have to slightly wait, dash forward, stand forward, down back 2, EX dive kick, and you get a lot of damage. As you saw right there, that did 430 damage, roughly 43%. So you can definitely get a lot of damage if you're willing to spend the bar. But even if you don't have the meter on hand, you could definitely still get a lot of damage. So let me just show this off right here. Just end it off like this, very simple. End it off with your air bite, your back forward 2, you get 33%. So that's really, really good. Like I said, it's an unreactable 50-50. They either have to hit the low like this, or you can just do a raw overhead like this. And also another thing, let me just show this off in the corner because it is more efficient to show it off that way, is if I do my throw with Mileena, more specifically my forward roll, or my forward throw rather, is that let me just show you the hit advantage. So look at that on the bottom left corner. I am plus 31. Now that is really good because if I set the recording to on, let me just show that off really quick for you all. Let me just see. So I did a forward 1 afterwards, and now let me just play that back. So I'm going to try and jump out of this as the Johnny player. So you see me holding up, I get hit by the forward 1. If I reset it one more time, let me try to do my back dash. Let me just see that. Nope, doesn't work. Let me try to mash my armor, which is very, very fast armor. Even mashing my armor does not work in that situation. You have to block this no matter what. So obviously in this situation, they're going to have to be forced to eat this meaty because you're a very, very plus on block. And when you do that, that's where you have your opportunity to mix your opponent. So you can either go for the low like this, low overhead, or after the throw, you could even bait them, you dash, and you just hit with the raw overhead from the Mileena ball roll instead. And then from there, you can do your corner loops that I showed off earlier. And this is going to lead into a lot of damage. 400 damage, lead into a blood sacrifice setup, which is safe. And it's just pretty much party city from here. Now, you can do this mid-screen because you still get enough plus frames to be able to do a forward 1. It's just much harder to time. And obviously, with Nitara as a character, because she is a glass cannon, you shine way more in the corner compared to mid-screen. So try your best to get them in the mid-screen. Or get them to the corner rather from the mid screen, as I showed off earlier by doing your this right here. So say you don't want to use the air dash, you just use your air size, you just come over here, and you just get all that corner carry. I went from corner to mid screen, and that was a dropped combo. So yeah, you can definitely get really far from this. Also, if I go back here just to show you all proof of concept, if you do your 1-2-4, which I did mention in my Nitara guide as well, which is safe even though there is a gap, you can do this with your air size and get a very simple combo afterwards. You can even do your, let me just get the timing for this, it's very tricky to hit this actually. Yeah, so you can do a 1-2-4 afterwards and you can't get this small conversion. Obviously, if you're willing to spend the bar, you're going to get much more damage and also much more corner carry. So look at that. Directly into the corner, even though I whiffed it. Let me try that one more time. There we go. 345 and you're in the corner directly in front of their face. So there's a lot to do with this character. Feel free to mess around with the air size. You could definitely do a lot of cool stuff like this. You can even do a lot of swaggy combos like this if you just want to flex on your opponent. It's very possible to do that as well. You just see that. So you could do something like that. And you can call the Mileena air size as you're doing it. Like that. Something really cool like that. You could just flex as much as you want. Just have fun with this character. That's what I really love about this. But now we're going to move on to Jade. So if Mileena is all about the set play and the overhead lows and doing all that stuff, Jade is more so about controlling the neutral with her glaive and also some light anti-zoning with the Jade glow. So as I showed off right there, if you just press the normal cameo button, you get the Jade glaive, which is a summon, and then the ambush is obviously the Jade glow, as you can see right there. And like what I said earlier, the ambush version of all chameleon cameos does recharge faster, but if you use the summon version, you're just gonna have to wait a little bit more, but that's just normal. So there's not really much to Jade. There is one thing I should show off, however. Let me just put him on block all. Just do this. So say if you try to poke with Jade afterwards, notice how the glaive just completely goes over top of Johnny's head. It is very hard to see, but it does go over his head. So one thing you are going to have to realize about this is most people are going to try to challenge your glaive afterwards like that, because there is a gap. Even though you can't move on the initial glaive hit, once it is out on screen, you could actually move. So that is most people's opportunity when they block the first hit of the glaive, they try to do a down one. So you're going to have to be aware of that. Many people are going to try to challenge. So there is a little tiny mix-up that you can do about that. Let me just put the recording on really quickly just to show you all an idea. So they would usually do something like this. Let me just show that off. Oops, let me just turn them on. There we go. So usually they would just try to counter like that. Let me just show that off again one more time. Or they get hit by the glaive if they're a little bit too early. So yeah, you see right there, because if you try to do like another button afterwards, it actually would not work. Oh, I messed that up. Let me try to show that off one more time. So let me just show something like that, something very simple. It's not good, but it's just to show off the concept of if you try to pressure with the glaive afterwards, it's most of the times not going to work and you are going to get hit out of it. So do keep that in mind. They are going to try to down one out of your pressure almost every single time. But if you block it, they're going to be minus, and then you're going to be able to, you know, do your buttons, your forward one, do your sweep, or you can even do a sweep into another Jade glaive if you have the cameo meter to do so. So always keep that in mind when you're close. More so what I like to do with Jade is just to stay around this mid-screen sort of distance right here within jumping distance, because I can also play my game of doing my air dashes like this and just sort of baiting them to give me a reaction, and then once I have them very scared of what to do, I would just throw this and just dash forward just to cover up that space. In certain matchups, like with Liu Kang and Kung Lao, with a lot of fireballs, there's a lot of the low hat and all that annoying stuff. I'm pretty sure we've all been there before. Let me just show that off with the Kung Lao low hat. If you have the Jade Glow activated, let me just turn this on. If you have the Jade Glow activated, this would just completely go through you because it is projectile invulnerable, as I said earlier. So in certain matchups, like I mentioned with Liu Kang, Kung Lao, or if you're fighting a really good Rain player who just loves to zone you out and all that stuff, or a Quan Chi player for that matter, just throw on your Jade Glow. There's really no risk in doing it unless you're doing it in a very, very bad situation. Because if you're moving too much while you call in the ambush, it is going to whiff. Even if it looks like you're standing really close to it, sometimes there are instances where it will whiff. Let me just try and get that right there. It's very tricky to hit though. Let me see. So you have to be like, yeah, almost right there. Yeah, so you see right there how it just missed even though she did come out. So you do have to be wary of that. That is one thing. But usually, like I said, most of the times you're just going to be relying on this glaive for neutral and also get combo extensions like this, which is really good for you as well. But one thing I do need to show off is if you put them on auto block. If you try to go for a blood sacrifice afterwards, you will not be able to combo from it. No matter how fast I do the input, even if it's EX, it is not going to come out no matter how hard you try. Even if I do it down 1, it's not going to work. And that's just something that we have to get used to, because I know when Chameleon came out for the first time, I was definitely trying to do blood sacrifice, and I just thought I was missing the timing, but no, you just cannot do blood sacrifice no matter what. So yeah, that is one thing you're gonna have to remember for sure with the Chameleon. That's gonna save you a lot, trust me, because when I made that realization, I just stopped doing a lot of stupid stuff, which is really good for me. But yeah, that's pretty much Jade in the nutshell, and now I'm going to go to the final most complicated one, which is Kitana. Now, in my opinion, Kitana Chameleon is the most complicated one out of all the three, and other than Mileena is the one you're going to get the most utility from. So let me just show off the cameos real quick. If you just press the cameo button, you get a summon, which is a fan throw, where she throws the fan at you. Now it is a high, so if you set them to neutral duck, you will see that the fan goes over their head every single time, no matter what. So that is a high, it's not a mid. No matter how low the fan looks like, it is a high, so they can just crouch in. And for your ambush, you get the fan lift, which is everybody's favorite move when using this variation. Now, there are 3 versions of this. It is the normal one, if you just press forward in cameo. Now, if you hold the button, let me just show that off. If you hold forward, you get a much farther version. You go the full screen. And if you press forward cameo and then hold back afterwards, you get this very close version where you just barely go in front of you. You're mainly going to be using this one for Nitara as well as the mid-screen one. Sometimes you're going to want to use the far one just to keep yourself safe, but usually what people do in combos is the close one. Now, the reason why I mentioned this is because, as I mentioned before, this is an ambush. So as you can see right here, I'm jumping and all that stuff, but she's still coming out, versus the fan toss is a summon. So you get a lot of options from this. Now, all of a sudden, your very minus 15 move on block, it becomes safe with this. Now, obviously, because you have aerial mobility with Nitara, now you can just do stuff like this and just keep your pressure going even more. Now, that just seems like fake, like, oh, you can up block it, you can do all that stuff. However, the mix-up comes once you start faking the overhead and go low. That's where this character really starts to shine, is where you start doing stuff like this and just really start mixing people's minds up really hard. So obviously this isn't going to last forever because the cameos do switch eventually after about 5 or 6 seconds. But to say you can't get somebody to open up with their block pressure when doing something like this is just a complete lie. You can definitely catch a lot of people off guard if they're not expecting the Kitana stuff. And that's just only very basic stuff. You can even do things like this, where you see dive kick is minus 23 on block, very punishable. But if you hit it with the fan lift, all of a sudden now you have your turn back. So there's a lot of little things you can do with this character that just sort of switch how you play with Nitara, if I'm being honest. Even if you do something like this with Johnny, let me just show that off. So before, if you don't have the Mileena, you would just have to your back forward 1 as your wake up option. But now when you have the Kitana, now you can combo off of this. Even though it's not a lot of damage, as you can see right here, let me see. So it's about 226. But the fact that you have that ability to just combo after a wake up attack is actually ridiculous. And even if you just want to go for this variation where you get 20%, you still have a wake up that you can combo from. So to say that this isn't good, I think it's a complete lie in my opinion. And not only that can you combo from your wake ups, but you can also combo from your throw, as I showed off in my my first ever Chameleon video when she came out in the corner. But obviously with timing and putting time into the character, I figured out that, hey, you can just do this anywhere on screen. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the corner. You just have to have really good timing for this. Now, the reason why I chose this stage while I'm showing off the Chameleon stuff is actually very important, because you see these plants right here that are mid-screen. This gives you the perfect height, because as you can see, the top of these plants, the bushes, This is around the area where you have the ability to, whether it be press any of your buttons in the air, whether it be your punches or your kicks, or do any of your special moves, whether it be the back forward 2, the dive kick, or even your aerial mobility. This plant, the very tip of this, is pretty much like a visual cue, I like to say. So if you see right here, the top of the plant, I can move, whether it be a kick or a punch. Let me just show that off. Obviously it's not connecting, but I'm just showing it off just as like a proof of concept. Obviously the air dash you see me do, and then obviously the most important one, the EX dive kick, where you can go for your very basic 1-2-4 aerial dash forward, 2-4-2 back forward 2. Very simple combo from there. Also, another thing you can do, this is much trickier to do. It's kind of hard to do, but once you get the timing, it's not too bad. But you can also do a very low to the ground 2-4-2 and do something like this for meterless damage. Obviously, it's not a lot. I would much rather prefer at this point just go for the throw, or if you have the bar of meter, just spend it for the dive kick, because this is much better use, if I'm being honest, in terms of damage and also positioning, because I'm much closer to the corner. However, one thing you can do that I do like is this. You also can do something like that, so you do get the knockdown off of the dive kick, because if you go for the other variation where you end with the EX air bite, or not the EX bite, if you end with the normal bite, you can't go for EX blood sacrifice setup afterwards because they are too far. And also in this case with Johnny, if they wake up shadow kick, you're going to get punished every single time. Versus if you end it with the dive kick, you can actually get a guaranteed blood sacrifice. Let me just show that off for you all really quick. So get up mode, enhanced shadow kick. So let me just show you really quick. So if I try to do this, then let me try to go for my EX blood sacrifice setup, I got punished. However, if I go for here, even though it is less damage, I do get a guaranteed EX blood sacrifice summon. So there is a little bit of a trade-off depending on which ones you want to go for, which is also why I recommend going for this version right here, because you also get best of both worlds. It's not much damage, obviously you're sacrificing a lot, but if you really want to go for the setup, then you have your option right there. Let me just take off the get up mode just to make it more easy for me. So there is a lot of stuff with Kitana, as I did show off right there. You can combo from the throw, even in the corner, you can do a lot of stuff. Also, another thing that I forgot to mention is the fan toss right here that she does here is -6, as you can see right there on the bottom left corner. It says block advantage. And another good thing about this is that if this does connect, you actually can combo from it, which is very good for you, because you get the corner carry, you get positioning, and you get a lot of damage for something so simple like that. I got 350 damage. So pretty much off of any button you can combo from, except standing 3, forward 4, and back 2, just because you're in the air. And if you don't know, you have to be on the ground for you to be able to do a summon. So you see me right there mashing the cameo button, but it's not coming out. But if I just do a normal stand 4 and do it, it's going to come out. However, one thing, if you noticed right there, if I did my stand 4 versus if I did my back 4, he is pushed much farther away if I do my stand 4. And if I try to go for my basic B&B, this actually whiffs because he's too far away. So in this situation, it's much better if you just dash forward and do a standing 4, or if you just do an EX back forward 2 and then connect it like this. Now me personally, when I go for a punish, I don't like going for my stand 4. I just like going for my 1-2-1-2, or if I just go for my 1-2 like this, if I really want to use my fan toss for some reason. But mainly what I use the fan toss for is off of my back 4, just as like a mix up, because off of my forward 1, you can stagger the forward 1, forward 1-2, or go for a forward 1 into throw. Obviously, it's not a real mix-up. There is a gap and you can poke in between it, but that's sort of like the read you make with committing to the full string or not. So one thing I love to do is forward 1, and if they think the overhead is coming, instead of the second hit being the overhead, I come in with the low, and then I just do my EX or my normal fan toss afterwards, and then go for some damage afterwards with a potential EX dive kick or EX air bite if I so choose to. So I would mainly do this off the sweep, or if it's for block pressure, I would just do this more so to keep yourself safe. Just because if you commit to the full string, 1-2-1-2 for example, you're left at -15. But because you can cancel the third hit, now you're left at -6 with the fan. Now there is a gap if I turn reversal mode on. Let me just show that off really quick. So obviously if they do have a bar of meter and they have a really good armored option, they can armor through your stuff, they'll punish you for it and all that. So that is something you have to be careful of. But it is something that is good for you as well, because if this does connect, now you have a way to go for this, which is very, very good. As I said before, if this connects, because you can't do this, they're just barely out of range, which is really unfortunate. Because if you could get this afterwards, it's very hard to hit. Yeah, you see right there. It is possible, but it's just very hard to hit, and it's much rather consistent to go for a dash forward, stand forward, down back 2, down back 4. So yeah. And if you would like to use a bar of meter, you can obviously do EX dive kick, and the same thing, rinse and repeat. 373, you get the corner carry, you get the damage, and because it ends with the dive kick, you get a blood sacrifice setup afterwards, which is really, really good for you. So that's pretty much it with the Nitara, honestly. I feel like I covered pretty much everything with the character. Also, another thing that I forgot to mention is going for these loops. Let me just show you that real quick. So one thing Nitara players love to do is this. So after the normal air bite hits them, they will call another Kitana just to get the fan lift, just to hit you with that. So to learn the timing for this, let me just show you that. So to air bite, there's 3 moves. It's the initial grab, the bite, and then the kick. So grab, bite, kick. Grab, bite, kick. You want to use your fan lift at the very end of the bite. So grab, bite, call the fan lift, and then you go for it right here. One more time, grab, bite, call the fan lift. So that's the timing for it. Obviously, you have to be very careful, because if there's too much gravity in your combos, let me just show that off really quick. So right here, you go for it. So if I try to go for it, the end will whiff. The 242 does hit because he is in the corner, but the last hit will whiff. So what you want to do in a situation like this, let me just show it off one more time, is you just want to go for 2-4 and then just end it with the back forward 2, just like this. It is very simple. It is a little bit tricky when you're trying it for the first time. I'm not gonna lie, it is a little bit tricky with the timing and stuff. But once you get the timing down, it's honestly not too bad. And then once you get that down, you can pretty much hit this from anywhere. So even if you hit it from here, once you see the bite, you go for this 2-4, squeeze in a little bit more damage, an extra 2 or 3% to your combos. And to be honest with you, this has saved me in a lot of games doing that. So that is definitely something you want to consider if you do plan on maining this team. And I think that's pretty much it in terms of everything that I covered with Nitara and Chameleon right here. Like I said, I more so wanted to do this as a Chameleon guide, because as I said, there's really not much that is changed with Nitara. It's more so what the cameo does for her, not necessarily what new moves or something she gains. So pretty much Nitara stays the same, you just get stronger. That's pretty much the only thing. But hopefully you all enjoyed today's video. Please leave a like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments below what you thought of the guide. I would really appreciate the feedback. And I will see you all in the next one. Take care.